close your eyes for a moment if you can. And if you can't, just soften your gaze and let your attention drift inward. Right now, you don't need to fix anything. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to figure it all out. Just notice what it feels like to be carrying so much effort in your body. Notice your shoulders. Notice your jaw. Notice the place in your belly that tightens when you think about money or time or purpose or the future. Notice the tiny bracing that happens, as if life might ask something of you at any moment, and you have to be ready. And take a gentle breath. There's something so important I want you to hear right away. The blocks you're feeling, they are not a sign that you are broken. They are not proof that you are behind. They are not evidence that you are not meant for prosperity. They are simply patterns, old agreements, quiet protective habits. And the beautiful thing about agreements is this: they can be rewritten, they can be released, they can be softened until they dissolve. You're not here to force prosperity into your life through exhaustion. You're here to become available for it, to become open, to become receptive, to become steady inside yourself, so prosperity has a home to land in. And you may not have heard it said this way before, but true prosperity is not just numbers or possessions. It's the feeling of being supported by life. It's the calm sense of, I have enough. It's the ability to breathe without fear. It's the freedom to choose what nourishes you. It's the quiet confidence that you can meet life and life can meet you back. So if you're feeling stuck, if you feel like you're pushing a heavy cart uphill, if you're doing all the right things and still feeling like something invisible keeps holding you back, you are not alone, and there is nothing wrong with you. In fact, the very tenderness you feel around this topic tells me something beautiful. It tells me you care. It tells me you've been trying. It tells me there's a part of you that knows you were meant for more ease than this. Now take another breath, very slowly, and let's begin. You may have done everything right. You may have read the books, listened to the teachings, written the affirmations, made the vision boards, worked hard, prayed hard, hoped hard, and still there's a quiet tightness that whispers, it's not working. Sometimes it shows up like a dull frustration. You see others receiving opportunities and support and you think, what am I missing? Sometimes it shows up like shame. You tell yourself you should be further along, more stable, more abundant, more confident. Sometimes it shows up as fatigue so deep you can't even imagine starting over again. And if you felt any of that, I want you to take this in gently. Your feelings make sense. Because when you've been carrying the weight of, I have to make this happen, your body starts to live in a constant state of effort. Not just effort in your actions, but effort in your energy, effort in your thoughts, effort in your nervous system. It's like holding your breath while you wait for life to finally give you permission to relax. So many people carry this quiet shame like a clock is ticking. They think, I should have figured it out by now. Sweetheart, there is no timeline you have failed. You are here. You are learning. You are growing. And what matters most is not how quickly you arrive, but how gently you travel. Prosperity is not a race. It is a relationship with life, and you are allowed to begin again as many times as you need. Now let's do a deeper affirmation sequence together. Let these words be spoken into the places in you that have been tight. You can repeat them quietly or simply listen and let them sink in. I am willing to release the old story of struggle. I am worthy of prosperity in all forms. I am safe to receive support. I allow life to bring me opportunities. I release fear around change. I trust myself to make wise choices. I forgive myself for believing I had to suffer. I am learning to hold more with ease. I am open to unexpected good. I deserve to feel supported. Now, as you say these, notice what comes up. If you feel resistance, that is normal. Resistance is just a part of you asking for reassurance. So we reassure it. We say, it's okay, we're going slowly, we're safe. Now let's speak to the body again, because the body holds blocks in sensation. If you've been feeling stuck, your body may be carrying tension. So do something simple. Unclench your jaw. Drop your shoulders. Relax your hands. These small gestures send a message to your nervous system. We are not in danger. And when the body relaxes, the mind becomes more flexible. Now, I want to talk about something very tender, grief. Sometimes you feel blocked because you are carrying grief. Grief for what didn't happen. Grief for lost time. Grief for dreams you set aside. Grief for the life you thought you would have by now. Grief can feel like a wall, but grief is not a wall. It is a way to deeper truth. If you allow yourself to feel it without drowning in it, grief becomes a cleansing river. It clears space. So if you feel sadness around prosperity, if you feel anger, if you feel disappointment, you are allowed to feel it. Feeling is not failure. Feeling is release. You can say, I honor what I have been through, and breathe. Now let's return to the idea of prosperity as a state. When you are prosperous inside, you make choices that support prosperity outside. You take care of your energy. You value your time. You respect your gifts. You allow yourself to receive. You say yes to what nourishes you. You say no to what drains you. Prosperity becomes a lifestyle of self-respect. And you can begin now with one choice. Perhaps the choice is to stop speaking harshly to yourself. Perhaps the choice is to rest before you burn out. Perhaps the choice is to ask for help. Perhaps the choice is to apply for the opportunity. Perhaps the choice is to stop tolerating what hurts. One choice. That's how change begins. Now, another micro story, because I want you to feel how this looks in real life. Perhaps you've experienced this. You have a day where everything feels heavy. You wake up and your mind immediately goes to what you don't have, what you haven't done, what you need to fix, and you feel defeated before you even start. You might have thought, this is just my personality. But what's really happening is your mind is running a practiced pattern, a morning script. And scripts can be changed. So you try something different. Before you get out of bed, you place your hand on your heart and say, life is for me. I am supported today. I will be guided. You don't need proof. You're simply choosing a different frequency. And perhaps that day, something small shifts. You notice a kind interaction. You get an idea. You find something you needed. You feel calmer. It's subtle, but it's real. This is how prosperity begins, through small internal shifts that change what you can perceive. Another story. You've been wanting a new job or new clients. You send messages, you apply, you wait. Nothing happens. You feel discouraged. Then one day, instead of trying harder, you take care of your energy. You rest. You clean your space. You take a walk. You do something that makes you feel more like yourself. And in that relaxed state, you remember someone you can reach out to, or you have an idea to adjust your approach, or you feel the courage to share your work in a new way. And then things move, because your best action comes from alignment, not desperation. Now let's talk about the concept of holding capacity. Holding capacity is your ability to hold good without collapsing. If you've been through chaos, your system may only feel familiar with ups and downs. So when good comes, you get nervous. You can build holding capacity the way you build a muscle, gradually. Start by noticing good things and letting them land. A warm cup of tea, a quiet moment, a kind message, a small win, a payment received, a compliment, a peaceful breath. Let it land. Today, I allow this. This trains your system to tolerate goodness. And as you tolerate goodness, you attract more, because you become a stable place for it. Now you may wonder, what if I do all this and nothing changes? Sweetheart, change is rarely loud at first. It often begins like a gentle loosening. In the coming days, you might notice you feel less urgency. You might notice you say no more easily. You might notice you make decisions faster without spiraling. You might notice you have more energy. You might notice you feel calmer about money. You might notice opportunities that were always there, but you couldn't see. You might notice you trust yourself more. These are signs of prosperity. Because prosperity is not just something you get, it's something you become. Now let's bring this into a powerful new agreement. I want you to imagine you're signing a new inner contract. Old contract, I must struggle to deserve. New contract, I deserve because I exist. Old contract, I am alone in this. New contract, I am supported. Old contract, it's not safe to have more. New contract, it is safe for me to receive, and I can handle what I receive. Old contract, I have to control everything. New contract, I do my part, and I allow life to meet me. Old contract, I am behind. New contract, I am exactly where I need to be, and I am moving forward. Let these new agreements settle into you. Now I want to speak to the part of you that has been waiting for permission. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to have more. You are allowed to choose more ease. You are allowed to outgrow struggle. You are allowed to be prosperous in a way that feels gentle. Prosperity does not require you to harden. It does not require you to become someone else. It does not require you to abandon your sensitivity. In fact, your sensitivity is one of your greatest guides. You can create a life that supports your nervous system, your heart, your spirit. Now let's do one more release. Think of the word prosperity. Let it float in your mind. Notice if any old images arise, people you don't relate to, stories that feel negative, beliefs that prosperity is greedy or unsafe. Now say, I release old images of prosperity, and breathe. Now imagine prosperity as something soft, ethical, loving. Prosperity that allows you to rest. Prosperity that allows you to give freely without depletion. Prosperity that allows you to contribute your gifts. Prosperity that allows you to live with dignity and peace. Say, I choose a prosperity that feels loving. Now let's talk about action, because prosperity does require movement, but not frantic movement. Inspired action is different from forced action. Forced action feels tight, rushed, desperate, heavy. Inspired action feels clear, steady, simple, alive. So ask yourself, what is one inspired action I can take? And then allow the answer to be small. Maybe it's organizing your finances gently. Maybe it's updating your resume. Maybe it's creating something. Maybe it's reaching out. Maybe it's learning. Maybe it's resting so you can think clearly. Prosperity responds to self-respecting action. Now, there's a very important truth. You cannot hate yourself into prosperity. You cannot shame yourself into abundance. You cannot criticize yourself into success. You can only love yourself into a life that reflects love. So every time you catch yourself saying, I'm not enough, you replace it. You say, I am learning. I am growing. I am worthy. I am capable. I am guided. I am supported. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be kind. Now let's bring it home with a final integration. Take a breath and imagine your life as a garden. Some areas have been neglected because you've been busy surviving. Some areas have weeds, old beliefs, fears, patterns. Some areas have seeds, dreams, gifts, possibilities. You don't walk into a garden and shame it. You tend it. You pull weeds gently. You water the soil. You give it sunlight. You give it time. And then it grows. You are your own garden, and you can begin tending it now. So as you return to your day, I want you to carry this simple practice. When you feel tight, soften. When you feel fear, reassure yourself. When you feel shame, offer love. When you receive, let it land. When you don't know what to do, take one small step. And remember this, truly, you are safe to receive. You are worthy of ease. You are allowed to prosper in a way that feels good. Life is not against you. Life is responding to you. And every time you choose love over fear, every time you choose softness over struggle, every time you choose trust over panic, you open the door a little wider. In the quiet moments when you feel doubt, place your hand on your heart and say, I am here. I am worthy. I am supported. And let that be enough for now. Because prosperity is not something far away. It begins here, in your body, in your breath, in your willingness to release what you no longer need. You don't have to carry the old weight anymore. You are allowed to set it down. You are allowed to receive. You are allowed to live a life that feels like peace, and you are moving toward it now, one gentle step at a time. And here's what's interesting. Many people think the block is outside of them. They think, if I just had more time, more education, more luck, more connections, then I would be prosperous. But the most stubborn blocks are often not outside at all. They're inside, like invisible fences built long ago. They were built when you were trying to survive emotionally. They were built when you were trying to be loved. They were built when you were trying to avoid disappointment or rejection or shame or overwhelm. A block isn't a flaw in you. It's a strategy you learned, and strategies can be unlearned. Let me give you a simple picture. Imagine you're a small plant growing near a window. If the window is closed and the room is cold, the plant learns to conserve. It grows slowly. It holds back. It doesn't waste energy on big leaves because it doesn't feel safe to expand. Now imagine the window opens, the sun comes in, warmth fills the room, and water is available. That same plant doesn't need to be convinced to grow. It grows naturally. It expands because the conditions support it. You are like that. Your spirit wants to expand. Your life wants to move. Your prosperity wants to grow. But your inner conditions need to feel safe. So we're not going to shame you into change. We're not going to push you into positive thinking like it's a punishment. We're going to bring warmth to the places inside you that are still bracing, because you are allowed to have ease. You are allowed to receive support. You are allowed to be prosperous in ways that feel good to your soul. Now let's name the truth gently. Many blocks around prosperity come from fear, even if you don't call it fear. Fear of not being enough, fear of failing, fear of succeeding, fear of being seen, fear of making the wrong choice, fear of being judged, fear of losing what you have, fear of needing others, fear of being alone. And it's okay. It's okay that fear has been here. It has been trying to protect you in the only way it knows how. Perhaps you've experienced this. You finally get close to a new opportunity, a job offer, a client, a creative idea, a relationship that could support you, and suddenly your energy drops. You procrastinate, you get tired, you find reasons to delay. You tell yourself it's not the right time. You might have thought you were lazy or unmotivated, but what's really happening is a protective part of you is stepping in and saying, "This feels unfamiliar. This feels risky. I don't know what happens if we actually have this." This is actually a sign that you're at the edge of your old comfort zone. And the way forward is not to bully yourself. The way forward is to soothe the part of you that's scared and bring it along. Because prosperity isn't something you force, it's something you allow. And allowing begins with safety. So let's look at where scarcity actually lives. Scarcity doesn't always begin in your bank account. It often begins in your breath. When you feel scarcity, your breath gets tight, your shoulders rise, your mind speeds up, your body goes into a quiet alarm, and from that alarm state, your choices become narrower. You become more reactive. You become less creative. You become more likely to grab on to what's familiar, even if what's familiar keeps you stuck. You might notice this in everyday moments. You're at the store and you see something that would nourish you, good food, a small comfort, something that supports your health or your home. And immediately there's a voice that says, "No, you shouldn't, you can't. That's too much. You don't deserve it." And you put it back. Not because you truly can't, but because your inner system is trained to withhold. Or perhaps you've experienced this. Someone offers to help you. They offer a gift, a favor, a connection, a kind word, and something in you tightens and says, "No, it's fine. I'll handle it. I don't want to owe anyone." You might have thought you were being independent, but what's really happening is your receiving channel is guarded. And that guard may have been necessary once. Maybe you learned early that asking for help led to disappointment. Maybe you learned that needing others was unsafe. Maybe you learned that receiving came with strings attached. So your system decided, "I will not need, I will not ask, I will not receive too much." And this is a very common block to prosperity. Because prosperity isn't just money. Prosperity is the ability to receive love, support, guidance, opportunities, kindness, ease. And if your receiving channel is closed, life feels heavy no matter how much you try. Now let's go a little deeper, gently. Sometimes it's not the lack that scares you, it's the having. Because having more can mean change. It can mean responsibility. It can mean being seen. It can mean leaving people behind. It can mean stepping into a bigger life than the one you were taught to expect. And your nervous system may whisper, "If I have more, something bad will happen." Maybe you've seen people with money who were yappy. Maybe you've seen people who succeeded and then were criticized. Maybe you've experienced moments when things were going well and then something painful happened, so your mind linked goodness with danger. So your system decided, if I stay small, I stay safe. And again, it makes sense. It's not foolish, it's protective. But you are not meant to live your life inside a shrinking cage. You are meant to expand in a way that feels gentle and true. And the beautiful thing is this: you can teach your nervous system that it is safe to have more, safe to receive more, safe to hold more, safe to enjoy more. We do this not by pushing, but by practicing. Now, I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine prosperity as a soft golden light, not a harsh spotlight, not a heavy bag you have to carry, just a warm light. Now notice where in your body you resist that light. Where do you feel a tightening? Where do you feel a no? Where do you feel a doubt? Maybe it's in your throat, like you can't speak your needs. Maybe it's in your chest, like love and support feel too big. Maybe it's in your stomach, like your life is always uncertain. Maybe it's in your lower back, like you must carry everything alone. Just notice. No judgment. You're allowed to simply notice, because awareness is the beginning of release. Now there is often a worthiness wound beneath the striving. If you've ever felt you must earn rest, earn love, earn support, earn safety, you're ready to put that burden down. Perhaps you grew up in an environment where love felt conditional. You were praised when you achieved, when you helped, when you stayed quiet, when you made others comfortable, and you learned, I must perform to be worthy. So now, even as an adult, you may feel uneasy when you're not doing enough. You may feel guilty when you rest. You may feel uncomfortable receiving without giving back immediately. And that discomfort becomes a block. Because prosperity includes rest. It includes receiving without panic. It includes ease without guilt. You are allowed to have that. And if you're hearing these words and thinking, that sounds nice, but I don't know if I can, I want you to take a breath and hear this softly. You don't have to believe it perfectly to begin. You only have to be willing. Willingness is powerful. Now let's talk about the subconscious agreements that create blocks. An agreement is a sentence you may not even know you're carrying. It might sound like, I have to struggle to deserve. Life is hard. Nothing comes easily for me. If I have more, people will take it. If I succeed, I'll be judged. If I ask, I'll be rejected. It's safer to stay small. I can't trust good things. There's never enough. I'm not the type of person who has that. And you may not say these out loud. You may not even think them clearly, but they live in your energy like old ink. And the mind, sweet as it is, loves to be right. It will look for proof. So if you hold the agreement, life is hard, your mind will notice every hardship. If you hold the agreement, nothing comes easily, your mind will dismiss ease as a fluke. If you hold the agreement, I'm not safe to receive, your body will tighten every time something good tries to enter. But the mind can also be trained to support you. You can write new agreements, not as fake promises, but as gentle truths your system can accept. and this is where we begin to release. I want to offer you a practice you can do right now, and you can also carry it into your day. Take a breath, and as you breathe out, imagine you are setting down a heavy bag. You don't even have to know what's inside the bag. Just feel the gesture of setting it down. Now say quietly inside yourself or out loud if you like, I release the need to struggle, and let that land. You may feel resistance. That's okay. Resistance is just a part of you saying, but struggling kept us going. So then you say, thank you for trying to protect me. And then you add, and I'm choosing a new way now. Take another breath. Now, place your hand on your heart or your belly, somewhere that feels comforting, and say, it is safe for me to soften. Again, you don't have to force belief. Just offer it like warm tea. Now imagine your body receiving that sentence like a gentle blanket. Perhaps you've experienced this. You're working on a goal and you're pushing, and then one day you relax for a moment and suddenly an idea arrives. A message comes. A solution appears. Someone offers help. You didn't chase it. It came. This is not an accident. This is the natural intelligence of life responding to openness. When you soften, you become available. Prosperity often flows through unexpected doors, and those doors are easier to see when your nervous system is calm. So let's create calm. Here's a simple grounding you can do anywhere. Feel your feet. Even if you're sitting, feel where your body meets the chair. Feel the support beneath you. Now breathe in slowly, as if you're breathing in steadiness, and breathe out as if you're breathing out urgency. Again, breathing in steadiness, breathing out urgency. Now notice, even for a moment, if your thoughts slow down. This is not about emptying your mind. This is about telling your body, we are here. We are safe enough in this moment. And from that place, you can begin to ask a different question. Not how do I get prosperity, but what inside me is ready to receive. That question is softer. It's kinder. It doesn't create pressure. It opens a door. Now, let's speak about shadow blocks. Those hidden places where you may be protecting yourself. One shadow block is fear of disappointment. If you've hoped before and been hurt, your system may decide, don't hope too much, don't expect too much, don't dream too big. So you keep your dreams small, not because you don't want more, but because you don't want the pain of wanting. If that's you, I want to say this gently. Your sensitivity is not a weakness, it's a gift, and you are allowed to dream again without putting yourself in danger. You can hope with softness. You can dream with steadiness. You can desire without gripping. Another shadow block is loyalty. Sometimes you grew up in a family where prosperity was rare, where struggle was normal, where people bonded through hardship. And your subconscious may believe, if I become prosperous, I will betray them, I will be different, I will be separated. So you hold yourself back to stay connected. If you've felt that, you are not wrong. Your heart is loyal. And you can keep your love without repeating their pain. You can honor where you came from and still choose more ease. You are allowed to outgrow your old story without abandoning anyone. Another shadow block is identity. If you've identified as the one who struggles, the one who sacrifices, the one who holds it together, then prosperity can feel unfamiliar. It can feel like you don't know who you are without the struggle. So you keep the struggle, not because you like it, but because it's known. This is where you give yourself permission to become someone new, not someone better, just someone freer. Now, I want to guide you through a gentle inner release process. You can do this with your eyes open or closed. Think of one area where you feel blocked. It could be money, career, creativity, love, health, time, confidence. Just one area. Now notice the thought that arises when you think about it. Maybe it's, I can't. Maybe it's too late. Maybe it's, I don't know how. Maybe it's, it won't work. Maybe it's, I'll fail. Maybe it's, I don't deserve it. Now, instead of arguing with that thought, just acknowledge it. Say to yourself, I see you, because a thought that's seen becomes softer. A thought that's fought becomes louder. Now, ask that thought gently. What are you trying to protect me from? You don't need a perfect answer. Just allow a feeling to arise. Perhaps it's protecting you from embarrassment, from rejection, from loss, from pressure, from responsibility, from change. Now, place a hand on your body again and say, thank you for trying to protect me. And then say, but I am safe enough to take a small step. Small steps are powerful. Your system doesn't need a giant leap to begin trusting. It needs evidence. Evidence that you can move without harm. So choose a small step that represents prosperity in motion. It could be sending one email, making one phone call, applying for one opportunity, cleaning one corner of your space, setting aside a small amount of money, even if it's tiny, saying yes to help, saying no to something draining, resting without guilt for 10 minutes. Prosperity is built through tiny acts of self-trust. Now let's talk about the energy of receiving again. Receiving is a skill. Some people think receiving is passive, but receiving is an active openness. It's like opening a window. You choose to open it. You allow the fresh air in. You don't force the air to enter, but your choice matters. So let's practice opening the window. Say, I am open to being supported, and let that land. Say, I allow life to meet me halfway. Say, I release the belief that I must do everything alone. If any of those feel too big, you can soften them. I am willing to be open. I am learning to receive. I am practicing allowing. Willingness is enough. Now let's explore a very common block: the belief that prosperity must be stressful. If you've ever believed that you can only have more by working harder, sacrificing more, pushing more, then ease can feel suspicious. You might even feel guilty when things go smoothly, as if you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. If that's you, I want to tell you something. Ease is not a trap. Ease is a natural state when you are aligned. You are allowed to have things work out without suffering. You are allowed to have opportunities arrive without panic. You are allowed to create a life that feels spacious. This is not selfish. This is wisdom. Now you might be thinking, but there are real challenges. There are bills. There are responsibilities. There are limits. Yes, of course. We're not pretending reality doesn't exist. We're simply choosing not to let reality harden your heart. You can be practical and still be prosperous. You can be responsible and still be supported. You can make plans and still trust life. Not forcing, but allowing. And there's another piece here that's often overlooked: the way you speak to yourself. Your inner voice is either a home for prosperity or a barrier to it. If your inner voice is harsh, if it constantly says, "You're behind, you're failing, you're not enough," then your body stays in stress. And stress narrows your perception. It makes you less likely to notice opportunities, less likely to take inspired action, less likely to follow your intuition. But when your inner voice is loving, your body relaxes, your mind opens, your creativity returns, your intuition becomes clearer. So let's begin to change the tone. Imagine your inner voice is a dear friend speaking to you. What would that friend say when you feel stuck? They might say, "It's okay, you're doing your best. You've come further than you realize. You don't have to do it perfectly. You can take one step. You can rest. You are worthy of support." You can become that friend to yourself. And when you do, prosperity begins to feel possible, not because you're forcing it, but because you're no longer fighting yourself. Now I want to offer you a few micro stories, because I want you to recognize yourself and feel less alone. Perhaps you've experienced this. You set a goal to earn more, to create more, to expand. You're excited for a day or two. Then the excitement fades, and a heavy feeling returns. You start thinking about everything that could go wrong. You think about how hard it will be. You think about people judging you. And suddenly you feel tired. You might have thought your motivation disappeared, but what's really happening is your subconscious is playing a familiar script. Don't get your hopes up. This is actually a sign that you're ready to rewrite that script. So the next time that heaviness appears, instead of quitting, you pause and say, "This is an old fear. It's not a prophecy." And you take a small step anyway. Another scenario. You receive money or success and then something inside you panics. You spend quickly. You give it away. You create a problem. You lose track. You feel restless. You might have thought you were bad with money, or can't hold abundance. But what's really happening is your system isn't used to holding more. It doesn't yet feel safe. This is actually a sign that you need gentleness, not shame. You can practice holding more by slowing down when you receive, by breathing, by saying, "It's safe for me to have this," by allowing yourself to enjoy without rushing. Another scenario: you want to raise your rates, ask for a promotion, share your work, start a business, follow your calling. But each time you try, you feel a lump in your throat. You feel exposed. You feel like you're asking for too much. You might have thought you were timid, but what's really happening is you're meeting an old wound around being seen and valued. This is actually a sign you're stepping into your worth. And worth doesn't need to be screamed. It can be spoken quietly and firmly. Now let's move into the heart of releasing blocks. Releasing is not about ripping something out. It's about dissolving tension with love. So we begin with forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean what happened was okay. It means you choose to stop carrying the poison. You may need to forgive someone who made you feel unsafe to receive. You may need to forgive an environment that taught you scarcity. You may need to forgive yourself for choices you made when you didn't know better. And you can do this gently. Say, "I am willing to forgive. I am willing to release the past. I am willing to be free." If that feels too big, soften it. I am open to the idea of being free. Even openness is a doorway. Now, let's address guilt and shame, two of the biggest blockers to prosperity. Guilt says, if I have more, I'm taking from others. Shame says, I don't deserve more. Neither is true. Prosperity is not a limited pie you steal from. Life is abundant in ways we often cannot predict. And your worth is not a test you pass. You were born worthy. So we replace guilt with generosity of spirit, and we replace shame with self-love. You can say, it is safe for me to prosper. My prosperity can bless others. I am allowed to have a good life. I am allowed to receive. I am worthy because I exist. Now, let's talk about alignment, because prosperity flows more easily when you are aligned with what is true for you. Sometimes the block isn't that you're not trying hard enough. Sometimes the block is that you're trying in a direction that doesn't fit your soul. Perhaps you're doing work that drains you. Perhaps you're chasing goals that don't belong to you. Perhaps you're saying yes to things that keep you small. Perhaps you're ignoring a quiet inner calling because it feels scary. When you're out of alignment, everything feels heavy. But when you're in alignment, life begins to feel like it has a current. So ask yourself gently, what feels nourishing to me? What feels honest? What feels like relief? What feels like a quiet yes inside my body? Your body knows. You may not have all the answers, but you can listen for the next step. Prosperity often comes through the next step, not the whole plan. Now, a very important piece, boundaries. Many people can't hold prosperity because they leak energy. They give too much. They say yes when they mean no. They overextend. They rescue others. They abandon themselves. And then they wonder why they feel depleted. Prosperity needs a container. A container is your energy, your time, your boundaries, your self-respect. So consider this. Where are you leaking? Where are you overgiving? Where are you tolerating what drains you? This is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. You can be loving and still have boundaries. You can be generous and still protect your peace. And the moment you begin to respect your energy, prosperity responds. Because life meets you at the level you meet yourself. Now I want to guide you into a deeper reprogramming, a new agreement. Take a breath. And imagine an inner door that has been closed. This is the door to receiving. Behind the door is support, abundance, opportunity, kindness, ease. Now imagine you place your hand on the door and you don't force it open. You simply rest your hand there and say, I am ready to open, gently. And then you imagine the door opening just an inch. That's enough. You don't need to fling it wide open. You can open it slowly, in a way your nervous system can handle. And you say, I allow a little more good in, and breathe. Now imagine opening it another inch. I allow life to surprise me. Now another inch. I release the belief that I must struggle. Now another inch. I am safe to receive. Now you may feel emotion. You may feel relief. You may feel skepticism. Whatever you feel is welcome. This is your system recalibrating. Now, let's speak to the part of you that has been tired, the part of you that has been carrying everything, the part of you that has been trying to be strong. I want you to imagine that part sitting beside you like a child who has been holding a heavy basket, and you, the wise, loving part of you, place your hand on their shoulder and say, you don't have to carry this alone anymore. Let that land. Prosperity begins when you stop carrying life like a punishment. You are allowed to be supported. Now, let's look at another hidden block, the fear of your own power. If you step into prosperity, you may have to make choices. You may have to say no. You may have to own your gifts. You may have to be visible. You may have to lead your life instead of reacting to it. And that can feel scary. So your system says, let's stay small. It's simpler. But you are not here to live a small life just to keep others comfortable. You are here to be you, and you can step into power gently. Power is not aggression. Power is presence. Power is you trusting yourself. Power is you choosing what is true for you. Now, I want to give you something practical, because spiritual work is beautiful, and it becomes even more powerful when it touches your real daily life. Here are a few ways to relieve blocks in the flow of your day. When you notice yourself worrying, pause and take one slow breath and say, I am here now. When you notice yourself judging yourself, pause and say, I choose kindness. When you notice yourself withholding from yourself time, rest, nourishment, pause and say, it is safe for me to care for myself. When you receive something good, even small, praise, money, help, a compliment, pause and say, thank you, I receive. You don't need to rush past good. You don't need to downplay it. You let it in. This trains your system to receive. Now let's talk about intuition, because prosperity often follows intuitive nudges. Sometimes you feel an impulse to call someone, to apply for something, to share your work, to rest, to change direction, to declutter, to learn a skill, to set a boundary, to say yes to a chance. And your logical mind might say, that's silly, that won't matter. But intuition speaks softly. It doesn't argue, it invites. If you follow those small invitations, your path opens. Prosperity isn't always a dramatic event. It's often a series of small alignments. Now I want to address the belief that you are behind